So that was a lame, I don't know, solo, but it kind of leads me into something that I've always wanted to talk about, which is um, what constitutes a good solo. There are so many great examples of it. And as guitar players and as jazz musicians or people who want to play jazz, um, I think we are often misled by one thing. And it's always been a pet peeve of mine, which is playing over chord changes. So when you learn guitar, one of the most difficult things, and one of the things that it's not even guitar, when you learn jazz, that most jazz musicians learn or want to learn is how to play over chord changes. And you know what? I think it's wrong and it's half-assed backwards. For the simple reason that I think what happens with most jazz players is I call it analysis paralysis. There is so much information out there. Um, Theory. I love theory. I read a lot of books on that. So we are all taught that, okay, so you got a chord and or you got a song. The song is composed of a certain chordal structure and we learn how to play over 2-5-1 chord progression. So if you are in the key of C, you've got the 2 chord, 5, and you got the 1. So D minor 7, G dominant 7, and C major 7. And so all you end up doing is creating a mathematical formula that's not really musical in my mind when I hear a lot of this stuff of how to play over this stuff. So you got the D minor 7. So, hey, let me think of, okay, D minor 7 arpeggio. So you learn that. And then G dominant 7. Then you learn substitutions. Then you learn that. Then you learn the Phrygian. Then you learn the Lydian, Mixolydian, and all this stuff. But is it musical? I always ask myself. And the one thing that always remained musical to me was the melody of the song. So rather than playing over chord changes, and it's a great exercise, everybody learns this. My mind can explode with all of the theory that I have in it and all of the different chord changes, like a 1 to the 4 to the 6 and all this stuff like that. And then the one thing that I find that always helps me is maintaining the melody line of the song that I'm playing. So if I get lost, I always stick in the melody into the song itself. Okay. So, because what ends up happening is, and this has happened to me so often, and I point this out to even other jazz musicians, pre pandemic, if you are sitting in a club, you go to a jazz club and you play, and your buddy knows that you play guitar or that you're a musician, and a song comes on, nobody knows what the song is until you get to the head. Why? Because the jazz musicians are all playing over chord changes. All right, the bass solo guy plays over the chord changes, very complicated. You know, they're playing Donnelly, they're playing all this stuff. They play over that. Boom. After the bass solo, then the guitar goes, then the keyboard plays. So everybody's playing over chord changes, and musicians who are trained can listen to the chord changes and can play over that. And once in a while, they stick in a bit of melody. So what's the audience doing? They didn't go to Berkeley. They didn't go to Juilliard. They didn't go to Curtis. They have no idea what you're playing. You gotta wait around until the head comes, and then they'll realize, oh yeah, they're playing anthropology. Oh yeah, they're playing Olio. Okay, so I maintain that playing over the chord changes, sacrosanct to say this, it is not it's not the end all. Let's just put it that way. We learn it, and I'm not going to change it. Herbie Hancock, all of these guys play over great chord changes, and the better you can learn how to play over the chord changes, the more admiration you get from other jazz musicians. And I just think that that's one of those things that's gone sideways because think about chord changes and playing over chord changes. You then have substitutions. You got a minor seventh, then you substitute with minor seven flat or fifth. There's a flat or fifth in there, so got to get that note in there somehow or the other. And so what happens is that if you substitute a bunch of the chords that you see from the original score, you end up with these chords that are colors and textures, and they're supposedly better, but they're straying more and more from the original intent of whoever composed it. And then you're playing over this stuff, and you got 3 or 4 people in a 12-minute montage playing over that, and the listener is not connected to the melody. Okay, so anyway, sorry about this rant. The whole point is that yes, we all are going to learn over the play chord changes. I'm going to continue to do it, but at the end of the day, it is not about just playing over the chord changes. Learn the melody, stick the melody in there, and keep going back to it. Okay, just don't make it boring, but just don't play over the changes, because you know what? Your listeners, unless they're musicians, have no clue what song you're playing or where you're at in the music, because you're just playing over chord changes, and that same chord appears in about 50 million other songs. So playing over it is not going to help or guide the listener. All right, thank you for watching.